Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something, well, pretty huge. A massive shift happening in global finance, changing the very language it speaks.
Yeah, it's really fundamental. We're talking about this framework, ISO 2022.
Right, ISO 2022, and how blockchain tech isn't just plugging into it, but actually kind of helping shape what it can do.
Exactly. And, right at the center of all this are some specific cryptocurrencies. Think XRP, XLM, XDC, HPA, or QNT, and Algo. These aren't just coins. They're engineered to be the building blocks for a new kind of financial plumbing one that's super robust and even quantum secure.
Okay, so our mission today for you listening is to really cut through the noise. We want to unpack how these assets are actually built to work with traditional finance, not against it.
And how they give you the power to essentially, well, be your own bank.
Be your own bank, yeah. And the potential that holds for, maybe building long-term wealth. This is about utility. It's about fitting into regulations, not just hype.
Definitely not hype.
So let's start big picture then. What is this ISO 2022 thing? Why is it suddenly such a big deal?
Okay, so think of it like this. For ages, banks and financial institutions have used older, kind of clunky messaging systems like SWIFT to talk to each other.
Right, the old plumbing.
Exactly. ISO 2022 is the massive upgrade. It's a universal language for financial messages, but it's much richer. It carries way more data within each transaction,
More data.
meaning transactions can be faster, way more transparent, and just incredibly efficient. It's like moving from sending, I don't know, a basic telegram to sending a whole detailed email package instantly.
Okay, that makes sense. A big upgrade for the banks. But why does it matter so much for crypto specifically?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. This standardized structure, the rich data,
Mhm.
it turns out it's incredibly compatible with blockchain.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the transparency, the immutable record keeping of blockchain just fits really well with a standard that demands more detail and structure. So assets designed to be ISO 2022 compliant. They're basically built with a doorway straight into the global banking system, central banks, big companies.
So they're not outsiders anymore. They're potentially insiders.
Precisely. They're becoming part of the core infrastructure.
And the benefits of that, they must be pretty significant, like interoperability, right? These coins are meant to talk to each other and to the old systems.
Absolutely. Seamlessly. That's the goal. Between banks, central banks, even different blockchains, we see it clearly with XRP and XLM. They're both designed to make international payments super cheap and almost instant. That's a huge pain point they solve.
And you mentioned quantum security earlier. That sounds futuristic.
It is, but it's also crucial planning. Look, computing power is rocketing up. Today's encryption might not hold forever against future quantum computers.
Right.
So many of these compliant assets are built using cryptography that's already designed to resist quantum attacks. It's about ensuring the whole system and your assets within it stay secure decades down the line. It's real foresight baked in.
Okay, that foresight links to another point. Regulatory compliance. This seems like a big differentiator.
Huge. Unlike a lot of crypto out there, these projects aren't really playing hide and seek with regulators. They're often developed specifically to align with global financial rules.
Which builds trust, I imagine.
Exactly. Trust with banks, governments, big businesses. That's essential for real widespread adoption.
And it's not just theory, right? You mentioned real-world uses.
Yeah, absolutely. Take XDC. It's tackling the complexities of trade finance, making those multi-party deals smoother. Or Algorand. It's built to support things like central bank digital currencies, CBDCs.
CBDCs, yeah, we hear a lot about those.
Right. And these are assets actually doing things. Plus, think about costs. Hedera Hashgraph, the network behind HBR, has transaction fees that are tiny fractions of a cent, like 0.00001. Yeah, that makes it incredibly cheap and scalable for businesses doing massive volumes.
It really does paint a picture of a completely new, efficient digital infrastructure. Integration, utilities, security, compliance. You can see how that positions them for potential long-term growth, maybe like, I don't know, early tech giants.
It's a compelling comparison, and it leads us to a really important distinction people need to grasp. How are these different from, say, Bitcoin? Or the meme coins, your Doge, your Shiba Inu?
Yeah, good question. Bitcoin's the original, the big one.
It is, and it's a phenomenal store of value, a kind of digital gold. But fundamentally, it wasn't designed for the detailed, data-heavy messaging that ISO 2022 requires. Its strength is decentralization and scarcity, not acting as a financial messaging bridge for institutions.
Okay, different purpose.
Yeah.
And the meme coins.
Well, meme coins are largely driven by community excitement, social media hype. They can have these wild price swings, sure, but they typically lack the underlying utility. the institutional connections, the robust tech needed for long-term stability within the traditional financial world. It's often more like a casino, frankly.
Right, speculation versus infrastructure.
Exactly. XRP, XLM, XDC, HBIR, QNT, Algo, they're engineered for enterprise. They're about stability, scaling, and having a clear roadmap for adoption by banks and businesses because they solve actual problems for them.
Okay, let's maybe look a bit closer at each one then. You mentioned XRP first, from Ripple.
Right. XRP is essentially designed as a bridge currency. Its main job is to make cross-border payments faster and cheaper through RippleNet, which is Ripple's network for financial institutions. They're tackling that old, slow, expensive international transfer problem head on.
And Ripple itself is involved in the standard.
Yeah, they're actually a member of the ISO 2022 standardization body, so they're not just complying, they're helping shape the rules.
Interesting. Then XLM, Stellar Lumens, you said financial inclusion.
That's their big mission. XLM powers the Stellar network, which aims to provide low-cost global payments, particularly for people who don't have access to traditional banking. It uses something called the Stellar Consensus Protocol, SCP.
SCP, how's that different?
Well, unlike Bitcoin's proof of work, which uses a ton of energy, SCP uses a different method, Federated Byzantine Agreement, to reach consensus quickly and cheaply. It lets the network handle lots of transactions without high fees or slow speeds, which is vital for serving underbanked populations. And Stellar, like Ripple, is also an ISO 2022 member.
Got it. Okay, XDC, Shinfin Network, hybrid blockchain for trade finance.
Yeah, hybrid is the key word. It cleverly combines the transparency you get from a public blockchain with the privacy controls needed for sensitive business data, which you typically find in private networks. That mix is really well suited for the complex world of international trade finance.
Makes sense. And HBR, Hedera Hash Graph. You said it's not technically blockchain.
Correct. Hedera uses a different tech called hash graph. Think of it less like a chain and more like a graph. It uses a different consensus mechanism directed at cyclic graph, or DAG, that allows for incredibly high speeds, like thousands of transactions per second and near instant confirmation.
Wow, that's fast.
Super fast, which makes it great for things like CBDCs or tokenizing real-world assets, where speed and volume are key.
Okay, next up, QNT, Quant. Interoperability was the word he used.
Yes, Quant is all about connecting things. Its main tech, Overledger, acts like a universal translator or operating system. It lets different blockchains talk to each other, but crucially, it also lets blockchains talk to the existing legacy financial systems that banks still use. It bridges those worlds.
That sounds vital for connecting everything.
Absolutely critical piece of the puzzle.
And finally, Algorand, built for DeFi and CBDCs.
Exactly. Algorand is another highly scalable blockchain. It uses a consensus mechanism called pure proof of stake, which also achieves very fast transaction finality and can handle high volumes. It's really focused on providing the backbone for decentralized finance applications and supporting central bank digital currency projects.
So when you put all these together, XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, QNT, Algo, with their focus on standards, speed, security, interoperability.
Yeah, you start to see the shape of something new emerging.
Yeah.
Many people see these specific assets as the core components of what some are calling the quantum financial system, or QFS.
QFS. I've heard that term. It sounds a bit out there sometimes.
It can sound that way, and the term itself is debated, maybe has some hype around it. But regardless of the label, the underlying technology these assets represent, blockchain-based, potentially quantum-resistant, highly interconnected financial infrastructure, that part is very real and being built right now.
Right. It's the tech, not necessarily the name. Which leads us to a really empowering idea for you, the listener, this concept of becoming your own bank. And secure custody seems absolutely central to that. Holding your own assets.
Absolutely essential. If you want to truly leverage these assets and have control, you need to understand custody. I mean, you hold the keys, not some third party.
And that's where non-custodial wallets come in, right? As opposed to keeping your crypto on an exchange.
Exactly. An exchange wallet is custodial. They ultimately control the private keys. A non-custodial wallet, sometimes called self-custody, means you and only you hold the private keys. You are the sole owner and controller of your digital assets. It's a fundamental shift in power.
Okay, so what are some good non-custodial options for these ISO 2022 type assets?
There are some great ones. Best Wallet is a popular mobile option, supports a ton of blockchains, including XRP, Algo, HBR lets you swap tokens right in the app, and crucially, you hold the keys.
Okay.
Then there's Tangent Wallet. It's different. It's like a credit card, our wallet, but in card form. Very secure for long-term holding. Cold storage supports these coins too.
Cold storage meaning offline, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Disconnected from the internet for maximum security. And then you have the more traditional hardware wallets, like the Ledger Nano X or S. Very popular, very secure, support XRP, XLM, Algo, many others. They offer that extra physical layer of security, often with quantum-resistant features built in, which is great for larger amounts.
Setting one up, is it complicated?
Honestly, it's gotten much easier. Generally, you download a trusted wallet app like Best Wallet from the official app store. First thing, secure it. Use two-factor authentication if offered.
Right.
Then comes the most critical part, the recovery phrase or seed phrase. It's usually 12 or 24 words. You must write this down physically and store it somewhere incredibly safe and offline. Never digital, never a screenshot. This is your master key if you ever lose your device.
That phrase is everything.
It is everything. Once that's secure, you can transfer your crypto from an exchange to your new wallet address, or sometimes buy directly within the wallet app.
Okay, so key security tips just to hammer them home.
Number one, absolutely number one, never ever share your private keys or that recovery phrase with anyone. No support person will ever ask for it. Treat it like the keys to your entire financial life.
Got it.
2, for any serious amount of crypto, use a hardware wallet. Ledger, Tangent, whatever you choose. That offline security is paramount.
Makes sense.
And 3, some wallets offer multi-signature or multi-sig. This means a transaction needs approval for more than one key or device. It's an extra security layer, especially good for shared funds or just extra peace of mind.
So by taking these steps using non-custodial wallets, you really do kind of embody that be your own bank idea.
You absolutely do. You break free from relying on centralized companies to hold your money, and you position yourself perfectly to explore what's next, which is decentralized finance.
Great, DeFi. Let's dive into that. So DeFi, decentralized finance.
Yeah.
What is it in simple terms?
Think of it as building a whole new financial system on top of blockchain. It lets you do things you'd normally do with a bank, earn interest, borrow, lend, trade, but without the bank acting as the middleman. It's peer-to-peer finance, enabled by smart contracts.
And these ISO 2022 assets, they play a role in DeFi too.
Increasingly, yes. Because they're built for efficiency and compliance, they're becoming really useful within DeFi applications.
Okay, so what kind of opportunities are there? You hear about earning yield.
Right, so one common thing is liquidity providing. Let's say you have some XRP or XLM or Algo. You can deposit them into a liquidity pool on a decentralized exchange, like Uniswap or PancakeSwap.
A pool?
Yeah, basically a big pot of two different tokens that allows people to trade between them. By adding your tokens providing liquidity, you help make those trades possible. And in return, you earn a cut of the trading fees people pay when they use that pool.
Ah, okay, so you're like a mini market maker earning fees.
Exactly. Then there's yield farming. This is often about lending your crypto out on platforms like Alav or Compound. People borrow your assets, pay interest, and you earn that interest as yield. Sometimes platforms give extra token rewards too, which can boost returns significantly. It's like a crypto savings account, but often with much higher potential returns and risks, of course.
Right, risk is always part of it.
Always. You can also use XLM or XRP directly for those super cheap international payments we talked about, maybe even earning network rewards depending on the platform.
And you mentioned tokenization earlier with XDC and HBAR.
Yeah, that's a huge area opening up in DeFi. Imagine taking a real-world asset, like a piece of investment property or shares in a private company, and representing it as a digital token on a blockchain like Hedera or Shinfin.
Okay, why do that?
Because it allows for fractional ownership. Suddenly, you don't need $1 million to invest in commercial real estate. Maybe you could buy a token representing just $100 worth. It makes traditionally illiquid, high-value assets accessible to way more people through DeFi platforms.
That sounds revolutionary.
It really could be. And remember, QNT, Quant. Its overledger tech makes it possible to build DeFi applications that work across different blockchains. So you're not limited to just one ecosystem. You can access opportunities everywhere, seamlessly. That vastly expands your options.
So how does someone actually get started with DeFi? It sounds complex.
It can seem daunting, but it's getting easier. The key is to start simple. Look for user-friendly platforms. Stellar has its own built-in decentralized exchange, often called a DX, which is relatively straightforward. Algorand also has a growing ecosystem of DeFi apps designed to be accessible.
Okay, so find a platform.
Right. Then you connect your non-custodial wallet, the one you control the keys to the DeFi application or platform. That's your secure gateway.
Makes sense.
From there, you can choose your strategy. Maybe start by depositing a small amount into a lending protocol or a liquidity pool just to see how it works, understand the process, and begin earning some passive income.
But be careful, right? What are the
Yeah.
main risks?
Absolutely. DeFi is still evolving, and there are risks. Number one is probably smart contract risk. The code that runs these DeFi apps could have bugs or vulnerabilities that hackers might exploit. That's why using established audited platforms is crucial.
Okay. Audited platforms.
Also, if you're providing liquidity, there's something called impermanent loss. It's a bit complex, but basically, if the prices of the two tokens in the pool change significantly relative to each other, the value of your deposited assets might be less than if you just held them in your wallet.
Okay, something to research.
Definitely. So the advice is always, do your own research. DYOR, as they say in crypto. Start small, use reputable platforms, and diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one DeFi basket.
Okay, solid advice. So we've talked about the tech, the utility, the compliance, DeFi. Brings us back to the big question for listeners. Why now? Why is this particular moment potentially so significant for these ISO 2022 assets? You drew that parallel to the early internet.
Yeah, and I think it holds. Several factors are converging. First, institutional backing. We're seeing real partnerships forming. Banks, major financial players, central banks, big corporations. They're not just experimenting anymore, they're actively integrating these technologies. That institutional adoption provides a foundation for long-term growth that wasn't there before.
It's moving beyond retail hype.
Exactly. Second, these systems are built for the future. They're generally scalable and sustainable. Many use proof of stake or similar consensus mechanisms that are incredibly energy efficient compared to Bitcoin's proof of work. They can handle the massive transaction volumes needed for global adoption.
Right, they can actually handle the load.
And third, perhaps the most immediate driver, ISO 2022 adoption is happening now. Major financial systems globally, like SWIFT and central banks, are actively migrating to this new standard. There's a critical window, roughly 2022 through 2025, where this transition is really accelerating.
So the tide is literally rising right now.
The tide is rising. And these assets, designed specifically for this new standard, are perfectly positioned to become integral parts of how money moves globally as this rollout completes. They're built for the rails that are being laid down as we speak.
So it feels less like chasing a speculative bubble and more like investing in the foundational infrastructure of the future financial system.
That's exactly the perspective. These specific cryptos offer a potentially more stable foundation for wealth building, precisely because they're driven by real-world utility, by solving real problems, and by aligning with the direction of global financial regulation. It's a fundamentally different proposition than betting on the next meme coin.
Which underscores the need for education, right? To
Yes.
really understand this potential.
Absolutely crucial. You can't just jump in blind. Thankfully, there are resources out there. You can find everything from, basic courses for beginners, how to set up a wallet, how to buy your first crypto safely, understanding these ISO assets,
Right, the fundamentals.
all the way up to advanced stuff. How to really maximize returns with different DeFi strategies, liquidity providing, staking, yield farming, wrapping tokens, delegating, even futures trading, if that's your risk appetite. Understanding quantum security is part of that too.
And even more advanced.
Yeah, there are even master level courses that get into things like tokenized real estate investing, how to operate your own validator node to support a network, really complex DeFi techniques. The learning path is there if you want to become a true expert.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. The big picture here is that the rise of these ISO 2022 compliant cryptocurrencies, it really does feel like a new chapter starting in finance.
It does. An era where potentially individuals like you listening can take much more direct control over your own wealth, using assets that are secure, potentially quantum resistant, and built to be part of this next generation global financial system.
So embracing that be your own bank concept with secure wallets, carefully exploring the possibilities in DeFi, and really committing to understanding the space, that seems to be the path forward.
That's the path to potentially harnessing the power of assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, HPOR, QNT, and Algo to, build for the future.
Yeah, this isn't about gambling on a whim. It feels more like a strategic choice, investing in the actual plumbing of tomorrow's financial world. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder. As this massive transformation unfolds in global finance, what does truly being your own bank unlock? Not just for your bank account, but for your personal freedom, your autonomy, in a world that's getting more connected, more digital every single day.
That's a deep one. And just a final reminder, of course, Always do your own thorough research. This isn't financial advice. And consider talking to a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Absolutely. Crucial final point.